Good morning, everybody. Thank you very much for inviting me back to, the second eCall Day in Japan. I'm very excited to see the progress and the numbers of you that are here. So, to do an end of project report almost for Hero 1. We are in countdown for the last days of the first Hero project. But of course the second one is still going. So, let me just start with what I want to talk about. Okay, talk a little bit about eCall in Europe very briefly for those who are not familiar with the subject. Talk some more about the Hero pre-deployment project. I will touch on the legislation which is currently passing through the European Commission towards the European Parliament, talk a little on standards, and how, with the experience of the Hero project, we believe eCall will evolve, because it will do, and we have some very significant meetings coming up, and to draw it together with some conclusions. For those that wonder why the very foggy picture, this one, one of those yellow blobs there is me. I was a policeman for 31 years. eCall is very real for me. It makes a huge difference. If you have to go knock on a front door and tell parents their child is not coming home, you will understand why eCall is important. And I get a little cross and frustrated sometimes with some people who don't see it that way. Anyway, let's move on. eCall in Europe. eCall is not new. It's been around since BMW actually reminded me, since 1999, when they actually had their own first paid-for service. But because it was paid for, it lacked some penetration in the market. The European Commission looked at this long and hard, and I started working on this back in 2002. They decided that it would be based on the universal number, which is the emergency number in Europe, one single number, 112. Many other countries in Europe have additional numbers, but wherever you go in Europe and you dial 112, it will work. The whole point of pan-European eCall is that it has to operate in a universal manner wherever you are in Europe, and now beyond Europe. It stretches way beyond that. It will work in Russia. It will now work, hopefully, in Israel, and there are other countries now which are beginning to adopt the same technology and the same architecture. But one very important point, which I must stress here, pan-European eCall and any other form of eCall that exists, in addition to the paid-for services, so third-party service, they can all live together. There is no such thing as bad eCall. What we have to work out is how everybody lives together in the same house. A bit like a family, really. Okay. Pan-European eCall architecture. I'm sure that many of you in this room have seen this picture before. But basically, a lot of you here are involved with this part, with the car, with the in-vehicle system. Strictly speaking, for the Hero projects, whilst they are key, it is not our prime focus. Our key instruction is to prepare this bit, where the member states become involved. They have to be ready to be able to receive the eCall from the car. There is also a lot of interest now, in the last few months, with the satellites. With the announcement, with the amendment to type approval for the European register or European sold cars, they will be able to receive the Galileo GNSS system, which is causing some discussion at the moment because we are not Galileo ready. The Galileo system is not ready yet. Okay. Hero projects. There are two projects. The first one started in January 2011 and will finish at Christmas this year. It will be a sad time for me. That's my first major project. 9 countries getting ready. said in January, we will finish by December next year. We must finish by December next year. There are 15 countries who are commercially and contractually bound to the HERO project. So we have 15 countries which are nearly ready. We are 3 countries now which are completely ready, and I'm very pleased to see Sonia Dimitrescu here from Romania. They are one of the 3 countries which are completely ready for eCall, and I'm very, very proud of their achievements. In addition to the 15 countries, there are 82 commercial partners throughout the 2 projects. So commercially, the interest is very high in Europe to pan-European eCall. But when we made the second project, there was a lot of discussion because some member states wanted to be involved but could not. We only had so much budget. So what we did was we created 7, well, currently we have 7 additional countries who are upgrading and being ready for eCall at their own expense. And they include Israel, so that's stepping beyond the borders. We have Iceland, Hungary, and Cyprus and Slovenia as one of those, and we are currently in discussions with Qatar and UAE. So it's beginning to spread. We also have commercial companies, and these are also commercial associate partners, and these just come together, speak with us, they have access to all of our standards, it's free, we don't charge anyone for this, so they are able to take advantage of the work that we have done. To facilitate this, we now hold what we call the marketplace, which takes place every other month, where we bring together pilot sites from within the HERO project, and sometimes some of the work package leaders, with the commercial associate partners, where they either ask questions or want access to use our pilot sites for their own testing. But as you can see now, we are spreading beyond the boundaries of Europe. These are the pilot sites that we use in the 2 darker colours. And I point out that we are also, as of last week, officially bound to the Aragonas projects as well. We now have a signed non-disclosure agreement and memorandum of understanding for the 2 projects to work together. It's a significant event. I'm hoping this will be publicly announced within the coming weeks. So, what's HERO all about? As a project, what are we really meant to be doing? When the first HERO project started, there were lots of very, very complicated objectives. When the second project started, I swept all of those away, got rid of them, I wasn't interested. Our prime focus is to do this, to get all of the countries in Europe ready for eCall, and to widen the acceptance of eCall. To support those, we needed to prepare the necessary infrastructure, and we needed to boost the member state involvement and investment, hence the HERO projects, although there's only 50% funding from the European Commission, and to test the proposed solutions. And in testing the solutions, we have found some experience, and hence we're able to say where we feel eCall could possibly go. When we talk about eCall implementation in Europe currently, the pre-deployment projects equal HERO. So if you hear eCall being discussed in Europe now, they talk about the HERO projects. These are the tasks we have to do to fulfill our objective. We have to look at the standards, and I'll come back to those in a minute. We've looked at in-vehicle systems, and we've helped manufacturers, both Tier 1 and Tier 2, in the development of their boxes. The readiness of the mobile networks, that is an ongoing discussion. GSMA in Europe are committed to eCall. They have committed themselves to upgrade their networks by the end of next year. So December 2014, all mobile networks in Europe, so they tell me, should be ready. We will see. But am must stress again, they do support eCall. We must provide continuity. The key point with eCall in Europe is wherever you go, it must work. And I'm very pleased to see our colleagues from Centicom here. We had a major event at Essen, their facilities in Germany, where we had 26 commercial partners there on an ETSI supervised event where we tested the interoperability. And the key, the overwhelming finding is that the architecture we use, it works. We could make calls with different units to different countries, different PSAPs, and it worked each time, pretty much. There are a few bits of fine-tuning to be done. Again, we have the links with Aerobonas, and we're also interested in aftermarket. If you consider the number of vehicles that are currently registered on the roads in Europe, and you go from the 1st of October 2015 for new types of vehicle we will have eCall fitted, there leaves this huge car park of cars which are untouched. They don't have the ability to fit eCall, and this is why I'm very excited to see our colleagues here today, and you'll see later some aftermarket devices as well. Very exciting. Technical areas. What are we up to? The key point is to looking at M1 and M1 class vehicles. These are your cars and light trucks. This is where eCall is mandated to be fitted. But in Hero 2, we progressed beyond that. You will have seen a video which was produced by the Dutch government, and hopefully they'll show it again at lunchtime, I think, on eCall for trucks. That will not be mandated in Europe yet, but it will be offered as an option. And I understand that there are some of the truck makers who are very interested in this. But basically, the interest is the load. What load is carried, what's the state of the load, and what's the state of the load after a crash. We're also looking at powered two-wheel. We use powered two-wheel because it covers motorcycles, mopeds, scooters, and also quad bikes because they're only powered usually on two wheels. Very interested in providing assistance for eCall for them, but it's a different type of eCall. Location technology. I've touched already on the issue of Galileo. I was speaking to Mr. Hull this morning over the problems currently on sourcing Galileo compliant chipsets fitted in vehicle systems. There are some moves that will come within weeks. I'm in discussions with GSA currently to try and get some meaningful testing underway so that you can look at these chipsets and establish which ones are appropriate for IVS and which ones are not. Cross-border. This is a huge problem in Europe. We have some very, very small countries, Luxembourg in particular, 50 kilometres from the top to the bottom. No matter where you are in Luxembourg, if you dial 112 or activate an eCall, it will go to Germany. Germany have offered to provide the eCall function for Luxembourg, but Luxembourg actually said no thank you. We'll provide our own. But there are technical solutions which will ensure that if you trigger an eCall, it will go to the right place. Aftermarket devices again. We have got to look at aftermarket. There is so much potential with aftermarket that currently I don't believe there is enough attention being paid to that. And the last part here, certification of the vehicle and the service. We have to be able to confirm that when an in-vehicle system is fitted to a new vehicle on the line, the assembly line, it will continue to work in the manner that it should do for the lifetime of the vehicle. Or establish if you need to do maintenance, when you need to do it, and what you need to maintain. Very, very important. And there is some significant work being led by ITS Europe, my company, in conjunction with Hero projects, and with CETEX and Centicom, and also NavCert and Robotransport, to try and bring these viewpoints together to present a consolidated view to the Commission. Hero timeline, this is where we are now. In fact, it's moved forward. Since I printed this slide, it's moved forward by a few weeks. But as you can see, all the testing for Hero 1 is finished. Hero 2 testing should start, I'm told, by the beginning of November. They're lagging a little bit behind. That's not unusual. It's caused by procurement issues in Europe. But then we have a major event, quick plug for me, 21st and 22nd of November in Romania, being hosted by ITS Romania, Hero International Conference. So anybody who wants to come, you're very welcome to see you. Regulations. eCall in Europe will be mandated. And these are the three areas: the car, the mobile networks, and the public safety answering point of TSAT. The car I've already spoken about. So the amendment to type approval was issued on the 13th of June. It was the first time we'd seen the public document. There are some items of major discussion in there. In particular, a reference to an open platform, the use of Galileo, and for third-party existing systems, the fact they will dial 112 before anything else. I understand from the Commission that whilst the actual wording stands at the moment, there will be a revision. We don't know when, but there are some tidying up to the words that will take place. Mobile networks are governed by the Delegated Act. Not Delegated Act, Universal Act. Because eCall is a 112 call, mobile networks are obliged to handle it for free. They're not very keen on it, but they have to handle it for free. So they have to upgrade their networks. And then we have the ITS Directive and the Common Specification and the Delegated Act. This covers this part here. So it means member states have to provide the facilities for their public safety and answering points to be able to see eCall. That legislation was published November last year, and there is an end-of-year report for all member states which has to be completed by the 23rd of October, so next week. Next week. So they will have to report to the head teacher and see how they've done. Regulations and standards. Standards for eCall are very important, and in particular, these two here, 16062, 16072. Hero has defined 25 changes. They are all timing changes. They do not affect the actual sentiment of the standard itself. The 25 changes, of which 24 have been accepted, are optimisations of timing. They are not changes to the standard. So where you see the standard, that still stands. Those 24 will be concluded on the 14th of November in England at a Senate meeting, and also as a result of the 24 changes to 16062, 16072 will be amended accordingly. That again will be agreed, I hope, on the 14th of November. Hero will get a copy of those standards first, of the proposed amendment. So if you are Hero partners or associate partners, you will see them first. I talked a little when I started about how eCall could evolve. The reality is at the moment that the eCall box is a single unit, it's standalone. It was done for a reason, it's a political reason, I don't need to go into that now, but the fact of the matter is all the component parts are separate to everything else in the car. But we believe that the next generation, and I know that there are a number of vehicle makers already looking at this, is that it has to go to common shared components. Not an open platform yet, that's a bit of a dangerous statement to make. But it has to go to a shared location, which would have multiple connectivity and multiple embedded applications. This is a little way off, but it is already being discussed now. When we go to that, these three things will need to happen. It will have to share its resources. If an accountant looked at currently how eCall is set up, they would say, why are you doing this? This is crazy. You need to actually share the component parts. there is a greater need for GNSS capability. Galileo in Europe and beyond will come. It is meant to be deployed by the end of next year, fully deployed. We will see. GSA assure me that they will have their satellites, and 14 have got to be launched in just over a year, so there'll be a lot of rockets flying around. But we're more interested in the combinations, and here already we have the combination of GPS, the GLONASS satellite system, and then there are other satellite systems in this hemisphere which are also of interest. But we need to go to that. Conclusions. eCall is coming. The optimal date is the 1st of October 2015. Aftermarket devices, I hope, will arrive much sooner. Legislative requirements I've touched on already, but 13th of June, the documents were out. If anyone hasn't seen the documents, I can provide you with a link. eCall will evolve. We're talking about that. And the last point of this slide is, we understand simple eCall. You have an event, it makes the call, it sends the minimum set of data, you send the first responders to help. It's what else you can do with that data. That's not understood fully yet. Right, these closing pictures, unfortunately, that's a forward card for 4 BMAX. It has now fitted a standard for the sync. It's an interim measure of eCall. It will dial 112 automatically, but it will not provide voice and minimum set of data in a digital format. It's just a spoken, looped voice with the GPS position and the identification of the vehicle. However, this woman here is Nelly Cruz, who is the Digital Commissioner for the digital agenda in Europe. And she's just about to press the button on that little box there, which is sitting in my office now, which was one of the first automotive-grade aftermarket devices which was produced in Bulgaria. There are a number of member states in Europe who are very, very supportive of eCall because of the problems they have with casualties in their member state. Some other countries are more fortunate, the UK being amongst them, Sweden, Finland, Norway, where they have inherently safe roads. There are other countries who do not have that, and so they want to bring aftermarket devices to their citizens much quicker. But these are here now. Those exist already. So if you think eCall is coming, it's actually, in part, it's here now, and will start to come, I hope, much quicker. Thank you very much for your time.